Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and this is the space and the place where we talk about things important to your soul. And at this point, we're also doing more than that because we're helping to provide you with tools to navigate the chaos that is beginning now and the issues that you're going to have to deal with as things sort of get out of hand, because the world is in a period of change at this point, no matter what country you're in. So we're here to help you learn some things about tools that you can use to either gain some inner peace or maintain your peace while there's chaos around you. And today's guest is a good example of that. Today we are going to hear from SAVI. He is a spiritual explorer whose life is marked by an unwavering quest for ultimate truth. His experience range from personal trials to encounters with the divine. They provide a unique perspective on spirituality that resonates deeply with the readers of the book. And I can attest to that because I spent a good month with this book, and there's a lot to digest there. His candid reflections and practical advice offer valuable insights that can help anyone deepen their spiritual journey. So one of the most remarkable aspects of this book is its practical guidance on fostering an intimate one-on-one relationship with the divine. SAVI's journey of spiritual awakening is a testament to the profound impact of direct experiential knowledge of God, or Gnosis. His insights into spiritual disciplines such as fasting and dietary practices provide a roadmap for readers seeking to navigate their spiritual landscapes. So as I mentioned before, we're here to help provide you with tools that you can use, and this book is definitely a tool that you can use. So SAVI, I'm going to turn the mic over to you so that we can hear about your spiritual journey, and then I might ask you some questions at the end.
Thank you, Dr. Bob, for having me, for creating a platform, not only for us to be able to be of service, but to make a relevant impact in the world that is, like you mentioned, the world is going through a shift right now, and the polarities are being accentuated, and many people need to have more guidance than what they can normally get through the regular channels. I guess my spiritual journey has been totally unconventional, as what you can attest by my book. I wasn't seeking to become spiritual. I was not seeking to even ever be on a podcast, but the degree to which the divine has intervened in my life and the degree of manifestations, of supernatural manifestations that I have encountered, and my integrity has precluded me to actually remain quiet. And I had to muster the courage to say, okay, I have to come up to the world and bear witness to what I've been shown and the path that I have walked, which in certain ways has been described from ancient times by the true teachings of Jesus Christ, not the ones that they led us to believe, and basically have attained similar results to what had happened to humanity 2,000 years ago in terms of communal, Gnostically communion with the divine. I was brought up Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I came from I would say, middle class, middle high upper class in Argentina of somewhat, structured individuals. And I had a very normal life. But throughout that life that I tried to sort of fit within the confines of society and what I was being told I had to do, I kept receiving metaphysical events of sorts that kept telling me, hey, that's not the way that I want you to go. And I guess the culprit that started a pretty demarcated journey was about 21 years ago when I had a demonic encounter that basically sort of I had a choice to make. Either I would concede to what this demon was offering me, and I had all the riches of the world, fame, women, and an amazing life, or I would basically stand in my righteousness and start in my truth and say no. And I chose no. And that was the first time the divine himself intervened. And I call it himself, but really it's everything, right? And I had this sort of energy flow through my body and something to control over my body that said certain words in a certain language that I could not explain. And this thing that spoke through me did an exorcism and had this demon leave the body of this person, and this thing crawled through my house out through the window. So that was the best and most profound example of something that shifted in my life. And then the journey has not been easy since, because as you can imagine, once you choose to embody the light, everything that is dark is going to come and hunt you. And throughout this journey of Gnosticism, like you said, I did not follow any religious practice, but I follow a clean diet. I follow a spiritual meditative state, which I would wake up in the morning and try to hold space and be in silence and being in gratitude. I would do a lot of self-examination. And also, as you mentioned, periodically, at least once a year, I would try to do on a prolonged fast. Sometimes I've done only water, sometimes I've done only juice fasting. But what I can tell your viewers and yourself, what has had the biggest impact has been leaving all manufactured or human-made products. In other words, eating mostly raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, no oils, and try to stay away from everything that is man-made. And within 2 weeks of following that sort of diet, by the way, I'm not a doctor, so please, consult your physician. I am not responsible for your health. I'm just expressing what has worked for me and is my personal opinion. So I have reached higher states of awareness and consciousness. And within those higher realms of awareness and consciousness, the divine came to meet me with messages, with apparitions, and literally the most profound ones have happened in the last 2 years.
Okay. So being raised Catholic initially, and coming from a Catholic family, how did your family adjust, or did they adjust to your change of religious outlook? And has it been an issue for you, or is your family now accepting of everything?
I'm blessed to have a family that have been extremely supportive, inclusive of all these changes that I've been undergoing. But most importantly, they have seen the change for the better of the human I used to be and the human that I am embodying today. And they not only feel a different presence when I walk into a room, but they see it on my daily interactions. So I am blessed still. My parents are in their late 70s to get to spend time with them on this earth before they transition, and they get to see the new me, right? The new true me. Because what happens is when we're born, we are sort of like a blank slate, and then society, culture, family, and even ourselves sort of encapsulate ourselves in an identity, which is not our true identity. And I think much of the spiritual path, regardless of your religious beliefs, and again, I try to be very mindful and sensitive of everybody's religious beliefs, because I'm not here to dictate the journey for anybody. I'm here just to be a witness and share what my journey was and what didn't work for me and what works for me and what results I attained by doing the later, right? And I respect everybody's opinions and I respect everybody's beliefs. So please don't feel offended by some of the comments I may make if they trigger you. This is the truth that I live. And all truth is subjective because we are all, sort of using filters. Our emotions are filters, our educations are filters, our senses are filters, right? And the only objective truth that I find was the divine. And it's not that I so much found it, but it found me in the sense that eventually when I was done with the seeking and I was tired of finding paths to dead ends, that's when the divine showed up and said, okay, now that you finally stopped looking for it, let me show you what it really is. And I guess the secret to all of this has been the level of integrity by which I have lived my life. And I speak a little bit about that within the book, three levels of integrity that I realized or became aware of. and living a righteous life and having high degree of integrity and always trying to do the best for others and yourself, it's part of the path as well. But yeah, the easiest way to reconcile religion with Gnosticism, I just kind of came to this aha moment a few weeks ago, is that Gnosticism is the practice of the communion of the spirit, the divine spirit, and man and humanity. And all religious doctrines is the theory of how that needs to happen. But the interesting realization that I came to the conclusion is that every single religious text, everything that man considers the word of God, I don't care what religious it is, was written by Gnostics, people that have had firsthand experience with the divine, and then they realized how important it was to share with the world. And that's been happening since the beginning of time for humankind. And it's been a while, given the way society is structured and we live our lives and how the world functioned for the last 2,000 years, that humanity has gotten in touch with this aspect of themselves. I'm nothing special. What dwells in me dwells in every single human that ever walked the earth and will ever walk the earth. But I've taken up to myself to find out the truth. And on that quest for justice and truth led me to these results. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense to me, having been someone who has had that connection as a surprise visit and an energy jolt with the message that you are more powerful than you know. And that message came through loud and clear, and I'm still discovering what that power is all about. So
Amen.
I identify with what you've experienced. I typically haven't shared my experience with others unless it's just a small circle of friends. But now it's out there because I just said it. But there are just some things that when they happen, you don't feel that you can share with anybody until the time is right.
Well, the time is right now, my brother, because I'm here sharing mine, and thank you for not leaving me alone in the front lines.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that my experience was not as frightening as yours because, as you said, it involved a demon that needed excised, I guess. But that was a pretty profound experience as you describe it in the book, and I can understand the impact of something like that.
Yeah,
So,
the funny thing was that I hid for more years than that, because that was 21 years ago, and I just shoved that under the rug, and I kept trying to live a normal life. And then I don't know how much you read of the book, but then I had started receiving spontaneous channeling by people in front of me, of the Holy Spirit or the Spirit or whatever you want to call it, using that individual as a portal for me to receive information. And I still was denouncing God. I still was saying, leave me alone, leave me alone. Up to when I had what some people may consider a dark night of the soul back in 2018, that all my identifications got completely scratched from the surface of my heart, and all my emotional attachments got ripped out of me through a relationship that I was in, and it was taken away. And that really forced me to confront everything that I was not confronted in my existence till that day. Who was I, what I was doing with my life, what is all these things happening to me, why these patterns continue to happen. And that's when I did my first prolonged 40-day fast mimicking diet, which I don't suggest anybody going into a long-term fast without medical supervision, first and foremost, and certainly not from scratch, meaning you cannot jump into the deep end of the pool without learning how to swim first. So I took until my matters to have a healthier body and a healthier life. At the time, I had not stopped eating animal products. I was still eating processed foods and cooked foods for that matter. So it was a novice in all of this. And I went on a 500 calorie a day diet. But the big change that I had experienced was that although some of the food I was eating was cooked, nothing was not made by nature. Meaning I would eat a piece of chicken with some vegetables and a fruit, but I wouldn't eat anything man-made, no baked products, no dairy, no oils. And during those 40 days, I received what I could consider the first wave of awakening, where the divine would instill awareness. I would wake up at 4 in the morning, not feeling anything, but I would get all of a sudden ideas in my head that were not there before as to the nature of reality and who I was and the journey I was embarking in, to the point that well into that fast, I heard the presence of the divine like I did when I was 6, and it just gave me one command, and that was don't eat any more animal products. And from that day, I stopped eating animal products, and my journey accelerated. So clearly, there's a direct correlation between the spiritual level that we are at and what we eat and what we choose to eat. And the closer it is to what our natural diet is, or intended natural diet by the divine, the more that portal channel or communication channel opens, and the more information we can access, and the bigger and more expensive our awareness becomes, if that makes sense.
So would you say that there's a frequency change in your body? There's in some spiritual circles, we talk about
Yeah.
A higher frequency of your body so that you can tune in more to the frequency of the messages that are coming to you.
One of the things I don't want to do in any of my sort of interviews is to speculate as to the things that I don't know. Being an engineer and have 2 master's degrees, I still have a scientific mind. And I think my biggest value of service to humanity is just relating the things that I know and the things that I've seen. I can tell you that what I experience, it is like I have an expanded awareness, and I am clearly of a lighter existence. If that's a higher frequency, or that could be implied as a higher frequency, then I would agree with your statement, because when I eat cooked products, mind you, I'm from Italian descent, so if I eat pasta, pizza with cheese, or any dairy, I immediately shut down. I get anxiety like anybody else. I get depressed. I get stressed. But where I'm eating this diet that I'm mentioning to you, it brings me closer to my essence and the divine within. And then I walk over water. I mean, the whole world could be imploding. There could be a nuclear war outside, and I would be on my Zen, and nothing would get me off kilter. So if that means I'm being on a higher frequency, most likely, probably, possibly, but I have no means of measuring that.
Yeah. Okay. So what was it that that encouraged you to finally put all this down into a book? Was that one of the divine messages that you got?
I think there's a time in every soul's life, or many lives or incarnations, where you realize the truth of everything by an act of grace, which is what happened to me 280 days ago. And we'll go into detail as to that experience. And then the implications were so profound of what was revealed to me that, like I said, my integrity and the moral code embedded within me said, I cannot die without sharing with the world what I have experienced. And when I was open to the possibility of starting this share, I had no idea I was going to write a book. All I decided to do after my birthday on March this year was to do another fast, because I had not done a prolonged juice fast or water fast in more than 12 months. And I felt something within saying, hey, it's time for you to, get your tune up, and you're ready for what's next. So I went ahead and I started a juice fast. I think I came from a trip in Latin America on beginning of April 2024. And by the second week, I would wake up 3, 4 in the morning to meditate as usual, but I had this strong desire of awareness of things coming through me. And it's like my mind was restless. Every time I would try to meditate, it was like word after word after word, like knocking on my head, trying to come out. So I went to the computer, and the first was a poem that came through, which is chapter 1. And I was realizing that I don't have the literary ability to write. I'm an engineer, right? So it's not that I have been very eloquent in my life. And this poem came through, and I said, oh, cool. I have written things like that in the past where I have channeled some concepts. And that was day one. The following day, the same thing. It was a letter to a friend of a friend. And that was chapter 2, and so on and so forth, until like way into the fast. By the third week, I had written a compendium of concepts that were just coming through me. And when I thought it was done, I had shared with all my spiritual friends and my group of closest relationships as individual sort of writings, as white papers. And they kept saying, son, SAVI, you have to put this into a book. You have to share this. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. I am not a writer. And probably was by week 4th, that's when I thought everything was done. I got the awareness. I remember vividly, it was noontime. And something within me says, now you have to write and share with the world everything that I've shown you and how you got here. So for another week, the rest of the chapters of the books of my journey, as to all the apparitions, all the inexplicable events that have transpired since I'm 6, were the chapters that I interlaced between the other teachings. And that's how the book was really brought to be within, I think, a total of 3 weeks of me being in the fast, and for another 3 weeks, me just being an open channel. I don't consider myself a channeler, but when I'm in a heightened state of awareness and I commune with its frequencies or divinity or whatever you want to call it, the words just came through me. But the most important thing was actually getting the courage within me to be brave enough to share with the world. Because as you said it, and you stated in your own case that you can relate, there's only so many people that you want to share this before they start giving you titles or, call you names or make you be embarrassed. But I realized that I beyond that because of the experience I had. Like I said, 280 days ago, I had chartered a catamaran with my girlfriend. We were in Greece. I was on my second week of just eating clean. What I mean eating clean is just nothing man-made and naturally and raw. And one of the things that I have asked the spirit was, show yourself to me, because by now I think I'm going crazy. And in the book, I detail like 4, 5, 6 apparitions, and I'm about to share the most profound one. And we remember we were between 2 islands in the Ionic Sea, and it was noontime. I was just minding my own business, watching the horizon, being pretty present, not thinking of anything really. And that's when spirit decided to pull the veil, completely pull the veil between it and myself, and allowed me to experience what I believe could be considered enlightenment, Christ consciousness, or oneness. There's no words in any language that I can know of to describe it. So there's nothing I can say that can convey the experience. But imagine you understanding that the divine is you, living a life through you, and that you really don't exist and you are just simply an idea. And that the whole universe knows you are the divine at that moment, and you feel the presence of everything, and everything is you. But most importantly, you realize that everything is perfect and everything is already complete. And the only thing left for you to do is just to accept being you. And at that time, I was given the choice to change anything I wanted to change in the universe, anything that I would not agree to. And in full 100% comfort, I said, no, I accept being who I am right now. And that level of awareness shrank back. And when that level of awareness shrank back, a dragonfly, the reason why it's in the book, flew around me, and the people around me saw the dragonfly. It's not that I can making things in my head. And as the spirit left me, so did the dragonfly, and it went through the horizon, right? Now, how is a dragonfly in a catamaran in the middle of 2 islands when there was no dragonflies in the whole trip? I don't know, but it was there, and it was very profound. And then I spoke to my family on my birthday this year, and I said, listen, the things that are happening to me, I can no longer be living the small life that I'm living. I don't know how or why these things are happening to me, but I have to start focusing in this path and leave everything I was doing behind and be of service. So whomever is, having doubts, whomever doesn't resonate with religion anymore, whomever is depressed, whomever is suicidal, whomever thinks that they are not worthy, I need to be of service for those, because I've been there before myself. And I'm here to tell everybody that we are all pieces of the divine, that we all brainwashed since childhood to think that we are not worthy. And we are all told that we have somehow to win a redemption when we are already all loved unconditionally by our Creator.
That's quite a story. Uh,
Yeah.
so the symbol of the dragonfly, which is not only on your cover but throughout your book,
Yep.
uh, what what do you feel that symbolizes?
Rebirth and spiritual rebirth, according to all the research I was able to make. I make a bigger detail on the book, but primarily rebirth. And what I have come to understand is that the Bible is not a fairy tale story. Many of the things that happened in antiquity were real and can still happen today. And many of the passages are true now that I read them with this new insights as to what divinity is and what, Jesus the Christ came to explain on earth. And there are many things that obviously I have to be sensitive to other religions, because it's not that Christianity or Catholicism has exclusive. We are all the same in the eyes of the Creator, from what I understand. And it's not that there's only one way to salvation. The only reason why Jesus was so eloquent and said, "I am the way," it was because he was teaching Gnostically how to experience what we all came here to experience. And he was following a natural diet. He was fasting. He was communing with the Spirit. He would take time alone to go and meditate or pray, So I decided to do the same and see what would happen. And the results are that I have these experiences. Now, it's interesting that many religions say that, including the Muslims, that you have to fast for 40 days. But the reality is that very, very few people do it, because even during Ramadan, they eat at night. No, you have to fast for 40 days if you want to receive the divine within you, because you have to clean your house. It's like, imagine you have people over for dinner, right? Don't you clean your house? Don't you go to the market? Don't you prepare the best food you can? The more important the guest, the bigger the preparations, right? So it comes to reason that if you expect to receive some sort of grace or the divine, you have to do the right things to clean your house, which is your temple, your body, to receive it. Yet people keep, chugging along industrial products, dairy, dead animals, everything that kind of severs that relationship. And I said, well, if there's some truth here, being an engineer, I have to experience this myself firsthand. And this is why I'm coming out to the world as a witness, saying, yeah, follow that path, be mindful, get medical supervision, do it the right way. But there's something meeting you at the end of that journey.
I just finished an interview that will air just the week before your interview airs. And her website combines Reiki with the Dragonfly, and it's reikidragonfly.me. And I know that, I guess the Dragonfly has sometimes symbolized a spirit presence. For instance, when a loved one passes and then you are visited by a dragonfly, that is symbolic of that person's presence. So I guess
I
the
agree.
dragonfly.
Every time I was visited by spirit, there was a dragonfly around me, or getting my attention, doing things that I could not explain. From coming and posing for me to hold it and for me to carry it away, which is not a normal behavior of an animal, to flying around me to call my attention. So yeah, there has clearly a correlation with some sort of spiritual aspects that I've yet to learn. But yeah, that's the animal that sort of calls my attention to say, you're not imagining this. This is happening right now.
So I noticed that even though this book came out this year, 2024, it's already in its second edition. So could you explain the difference? Because there wasn't a lot of time in between the first and second edition. What is different about the second edition?
Well, like I explained earlier, the process of writing the book, when I thought I was done, which were the half of the chapters, by the end of the 4 weeks, I think it was, or fifth week, and then Spirit sort of said, "No, no, you're not done." The minute I thought it was done, and I created like an internal manuscript to give to my friends, like they were asking, "Hey, put all this together in a book." So I went and I uploaded it to Amazon, not with the idea of actually uh, selling it for the masses, but as a way to make a nice compilation and put it together and be able just to mail it to my friends around the world as of these writings and anybody who would want it. And that's when Spirit said, "No, you're not done. Now you have to be a witness to everything that I showed you." And that's when everything else came through. And then basically the only difference is like uh, there's the Gnostic realizations of the teachings I received, and then the journey within my life as to the apparitions and how I was being called to basically take on this role, I guess. And that's that. So that's the difference between the first one, which was more of a like a for family and friends, and this one that is for the world.
Okay. I was very curious about that. So as I leaf through this book, there are beautiful, beautiful plates. Uh, and I'm going to hold this up for the YouTube audience. But these are throughout the book, chapter after chapter. And I was curious to know who did these plates? Where did they come from? Because I don't see any credit toward any artist uh, anywhere in the book.
Well, the artist is me writing the prompts and artificial intelligence doing what I tell them to do. And some of those plates took a long time to get them right because I'm not an artist. I can only draw with a pencil and a ruler, pretty much a square. So I did not have an unlimited budget, so I had to get creative as to how I was going to show with an image the emotions and the message on each chapter.
Well, you can't convince me you're not an artist in looking at all those plates. And
Well,
I
always had an eye for architecture and photography. I used to be a photographer, so art, maybe it's within my DNA. I have never fully expressed it.
yeah, that's I guess a lot of it did remind me of photography, just with your eye for balance, not just color and tone and those sort of artistic aspects of it, but also the way each of those plates was balanced and had a composition
Thank
that
you.
looked very professional.
Thank you. I had a lot of help from mysterious forces.
Well, kudos to you, and maybe that's the next creative aspect of yourself that you should consider developing a little bit more, because it's
Yeah,
very impressive.
I'm in a journey of becoming a blank canvas. So whatever I was meant to actually become in this lifetime, come through me. And it's the whole process of disidentification of what I thought I was meant to do in this earth to what I am truly meant to do that I'm learning, because the journey never stops. You never become a master, right? The minute that you learn or you raise your awareness, you realize you become a student again. It's like an ever evolving process. So in this
Yeah.
journey, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I am sure going to enjoy the ride.
Well, I went on YouTube and plugged in SAVI, The Journey Begins Within, and I listened to you read one of your chapters while some of your artistic plates were on view. And I found that to be a very intriguing experience uh, as an introduction to the book. So
Yeah,
it's some
let me
it's,
just, let me just correct you. It hasn't been me who read it. I hired somebody professional, and he has the credits on the Audible book. So what I did, I used the tracks that he had given me, and I decided to share with the world, because some places on the world, the book is not being published right now, just primarily because Amazon has not opened those markets or hasn't granted me access to those markets. And I think the message is so profound and so transformative that if it has to have any impact, I have to use every single platform available for broad distribution and make it accessible for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So there's no economic driver behind this effort. In fact, I'm the sole contributor with my own capital. And being the book for sale in Kindle for $2.99, it's not that I'm going to be making or recovering any of the money I'm spending, but it's just more of a gift to the world and bear witness to it. So I've used different types of media, and primarily YouTube it's the system that has reached the most. I think as of today we have 100,000 subscribers and over 4.7 million views as of this morning. And I'm going to use it as a platform to make sure that the whole world knows very basic things. You are divine and complete. We are all divine sovereign beings having this experience. We are all free to choose to embody light and darkness. The devil is a thing, I've seen it, and the divine is a thing, and I've seen it. And I think we all have to make our decisions, our conscious decisions, to start being a better version of ourselves. Not because we have to, not because people tell us to, not because society forces to. It's because we consciously choose to live a better life, to be righteous, and to embody the light. And that's basically the message. It's not so much about religion. It's not so much that I want followers, because I don't. I did create a charitable 508, which is a subcategory within the 501c3 nonprofit as a religious organization. So I have freedom of speech, and they could not, curtail me or censor me. And that's the reason why I haven't gone with any big buck publisher. And I've taken the task to do it myself, because I don't want the message edited in any way, shape, or form. Because I'm aware that whomever wrote that book, it wasn't me. It came through me. So I have to honor that. And where it is perfect English, it's not perfect English, or maybe sensitive for some people, or some things may not be politically correct. I wasn't the author. I was just the channel. So I have to honor that.
Yeah, I get that. Uh, and I guess the one of my thoughts is, what's next? Where, do you feel there's another book coming, more messages to get out there? Uh, what do you see as happening next, or is it just an acceptance of wherever you are led, you will follow?
All of the above. All of the above. It's funny you asked that. Like this week, I just uploaded the latest video on YouTube, which is called Conscious Leadership, Sustainable Capitalistic Model. And it's a snippet of awareness that I've received over the past 3-4 years as to what everything we were doing wrong in the world, that I sort of came through the book. But most importantly, I was invited to do a masterclass as to how leaders could embrace the connection with the divine to lead better. And this was something that I was not looking. Somebody just reached out to me that have their own platform, that have their own YouTube channel, that are creating these master classes. And the last thing that I would have thought was that somebody was going to pick me to be a part of the master class, because it's not what I do, clearly, and it's not something that I have done before. But they were so moved by everything that I have read and heard that came through me, that I put that together literally within 30 minutes a few days ago, because I've been living this. So for me, it's easy. Being me, it's easy. Nothing requires work. I just have to empty myself and then just let spirit take over if I'm eating a natural diet. And it has had so much profound implications now that something else is coming from that, where we may decide to actually create a platform or a retreat center for leaders who want to get it in contact with their own divinity. And how would they lead through being in contact with their own divinity and envision a better world for everybody? Because we all know that the world, the way it is, cannot be sustained much further. And in that latest video, which I think was 33 minutes, plus, entry and exit credits. That came through. So I am totally open right now as to what it is that my mission is, because I still don't know it. But I'm of the conviction that I could no longer continue living the life I was, having experienced the gifts that I have experienced. And I have to stop being my old self and embrace my divine blueprint, if you might call it that way, as to what it is that I'm meant to do in this earth. And I think each one of us, it's not that just me. I'm just having the courage to come here and share with the world. But each one of us has to make that decision. We all have a master plan for this lifetime that we're here. And we all always letting it slip through our hands because of impositions. We're always doing something that we are not happy doing because somebody's telling us that we have to do it. So the whole book, the whole YouTube channel, me coming up to podcasts like yours, is to sort of sprinkle the awareness in your own mind for you to start asking to yourself the questions of how could you be better at whatever it is that you do. And I give you a little insight. The master key to many of the answers is learning how to create from unconditional love. Unconditional love is the foundation for your state of natural being. And that's one of the big lessons that we all come to this earth to learn.
Yeah, I find that often when people are working with the concept of unconditional love, they think that it's something that they offer to somebody else. And they don't consider the fact that they need to offer that to themselves first before they can give it to anybody.
Are you inside of my mind? Are you reading my mind right now? Because the minute you said that, it's true. I mean, it's very true. The first lesson is learning yourself unconditionally, which is acceptance, surrender, and allowing yourself to be you, and being kind to yourself. Everything that you always seeked outside of you was what's missing within you that you had to give to yourself. So you are the person you were looking for. Okay, to always remember that. And once you master that, once you master to love yourself unconditionally, and you're comfortable in your skin with all your limitations, and you pamper yourself like if you were holding a 3-year born baby, and you accept it as it is, then you can start sharing that with the rest of the world, right? So yeah, well said.
Well, we're at the point of the podcast where I ask the guests to leave the audience with some words of wisdom. I think we just did, but
we just did, yeah.
If you would like to just sort of wrap up in your own mind what you would like to leave the audience with, this is your opportunity to do that.
If you feel something within you calling you to explore the unknown, don't have fear, because fear is just false evidence appearing real. And behind every fear that you have, there's a gift awaiting for you.
Okay. Audience, you've heard it first here on Your Spiritual Journey. So take what resonates with you, put the rest on a shelf until you're ready to deal with it. And until next time, this has been Your Spiritual Journey.